why the author used it. But how does it affect the tone? So this is the do. The do part is they have to be able to articulate in writing how it affects tone. In other words, what is the impact of this language on the text as a whole?
Okay.
What is the impact of this language on the entirety of the text? That's what students need to know, understand, and do with figurative language. So now we want to do that now with the hang on just one second. Yep. So we want to make sure we can make sure that that's like kind of our big idea of what we're doing with these first 4 lessons leading up to the mid-unit assessment in lesson 5.
Okay.
Okay. What about those lessons that lead up to the end of the unit assessment? This is still number 4. This is like part 2 of number 4.
Okay.
What do they need to know, understand, and do for the end of unit assessment rather?
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay, so.
And here's the copy of it. Are you looking at this already?
Yeah, I'm trying to make out. So from what I've read, what I'm thinking is they will, because it looks like they're listening to the speech.
They listen to it first.
Okay, and so they need to be able to, they're still pulling out, there's a lot of evidence, but I don't think this part of I don't know if they're focusing on the figurative language in this part, in this.
No, so that's the point, that's right, okay, so you're right on point. In this second half of Unit 1, the standard of focus is RI 6.2,
right,
which is main idea, as well as 6.5, which is structure. Okay, so we shift. Remember, in the first half of the unit, we're looking at Bud Not Buddy, which is RL. In the second half, we're looking at Steve Jobs' speech, and then the end of unit assessment is Barack Obama's speech, back to school speech. So it shifts to RI. The standards now are RI 6.2 and RI 6.5.
Right.
Okay. So the end of unit assessment, you're going to give them this hard copy of the speech. They're going to listen to it and follow along as they're listening to it. And then they need to answer these questions, which are all about those 2 standards that we just talked about. All right, so the first question is, why does Barack Obama include, and then it lists these examples, how do they contribute to the meaning of the paragraph? All right, so what does a kid need to be able to do in order to answer a question like that? All right, question number 1. What mental steps does a student need to be able to take in order to answer a question like this right here?
Okay, so they will probably read and reread carefully.
Okay. So close reading.
They will have, close read. I would maybe have them, because one thing I do have them do, and a lot of them are kind of used to doing it, underline the keywords needed.
Annotate.
From his sentence too, and along with, what they need to pull out from the question.
Okay. So two things I heard you say are that they need to reread, because they would have listened and read at one time, right?
Right.
So they need to reread the paragraph, the specific paragraph, and it tells them where to go.
Or they can just, because it gives them what it says here, so if they just reread that part of it.
So as a teacher, you have to determine, is that enough for them to read, or do they need to go back and see it in context?
Right.
Because that's something that you're going to want to teach them, explicitly.
Right.
You want to tell them ahead of time in your lessons, hey, on the assessment, it may give you one sentence, but you need to look at it in context, so go back and look at it in the paragraph itself.
Okay.
All right, and that should be part of your instruction, or not. I'm telling you. I'm saying that you need to make that distinction for them.
Right.
Otherwise, they likely won't go back and read it.
Definitely.
Right. So something for you to think about. So, know, understand, do. In order to do this, what's the first thing that you think they need to know?
They need to know how to close read.
Okay, so
they definitely know how to do that.
Okay, now as you're answering these questions, keep referring back to the standards that are being tested on this assessment.
Okay.
Okay, so
can I write on this, or should I write on this one?
You can have this copy.
Okay.
We can write on this copy. That's fine. All right. So what are the two standards again?
RI 6.2 and 6.5.
Okay, 6.2 and 6.5. 6.2 is that main idea piece. So that's where you talk about the gist, what you said, back in the previous, or the first half of the unit. And then 6.5 is structure.
Okay.
All right, how it's set up. So the reason 6.5 applies here is because we're looking at specific quotes, lines, paragraphs, things like that. Okay. Now, so what's the first thing? Keeping this in mind, what do students need to be able what do students need to know in order to get this question right?
How to find the main idea or the gist.
All right, let's write that.
So
while you write it, I will type it right here.
And then they need to know how to identify structure or different. Is it? Because I'm not familiar with structure at all.
Okay, so RI3 and RI5 are very close, but right here we're talking about RI5.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the standard, the long-term target. I can analyze how a particular sentence, paragraph, chapter, or section fits in and contributes to the development of ideas in the text. So the question is, why does he include these examples? In other words, what is the role or the purpose or the impact of having these examples in the paragraph,
right,
or in the text? If I took them out, would it still have, would the whole speech still be that important?
Right.
All right.
Okay.
So when we talk about structure, that's what we're talking about there. Like, why are they in there, and what is their purpose?
Okay.
So what were you saying about no in terms of structure? And this is like, think about it, just like when RL, you kind of started at the, notice that we went know, understand, do. It went kind of like up the taxonomy, right? Like at the bottom of it, just identifying, and then you get to a point where you're basically synthesizing, right, or creating. You're basically getting to a point where I can make my own knowledge based on what I know. And that's kind of what you're doing here as well. So you're just kind of moving up. So we know how to find a main idea. What we understand about that may not be it.
And so I didn't get the structure part for the no part.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So the no for the structure is, what purpose does it serve?
Okay, so just knowing that this is included in here for a reason.
Right.
Understanding why it was included in there.
Okay.
And then when it comes to the do part, what would that be?
For structure.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Let's talk about structure.
I don't know for that one, because it's still kind of foggy to me. Like me understanding.
Okay. What does this question want them to do? Let's start there. What is the question asking the students to do?
Why does he include these examples? How do they contribute to the meaning of that paragraph? Use evidence from the text.
Okay, so what is it asking them to do? And I know I'm asking you the same question again, just slightly differently. What do students actually have to be able to do? They have to be able to write or articulate what?
Why he chose these examples to put in speech.
Not just why, go a little bit further than just, because that's still part of the understand.
Mm-hmm.
Not just why he put it in there, but the step further is what was the impact of it.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
A little bit. I'm getting
Okay, so if I say, I wrote this agenda out for this meeting so that you can have a clear vision of where you have to move students to throughout this module. That doesn't mean anything until you actually do it, right? Until the impact of it is students improve. That's the impact of it.
Okay.
And that's part of the do. Like, what do I want you to be able to do from this?
So, okay, so I have, what was his purpose? Well, how does it impact the author's structure? That's understand. Or is that the do part?
And they're not like clear cut lines here. Okay. But what I'm saying is, you have to know what you want kids to be able to do.
Right.
All right. So what do you want kids to be able to do?
To tell me the purpose of this, I guess why it was structured the way it was, the purpose it serves, and the impact it has.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and the answer is in the question here.
Mm-hmm.
You want students to be able to tell you why these lines are important to the meaning of the text.
Okay.
You want them to be able to tell you that. That's what they have to do. They have to be able to tell you why these lines or these examples are important to the meaning of the text.
Got it.
That's what you want them to be able to do. In order to do that, though, they have to know this and understand this.
Got it.
Makes sense?
It makes sense to me, but I'm just gonna go and do my research on 6.5.
6.3 and 6.5 always give people a hard time.
Yeah, I have to understand it a little better before I, present the information to them. So.
All right, so now we know what students need to know, understand, and do for the mid-unit as well as the end unit. And this is important because you have to make that mental shift as well.
Okay.
When you're presenting the information to them. You have to say to yourself, for lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4, this is what I have to teach them in order to be successful in lesson 5, which is the mid-unit.
Okay.
And the same thing for the second half. Okay. Now, moving to question number 5.
On the test or on the agenda?
On the agenda.
Okay.
On the agenda. Now, I started typing here. Let's make sure we get down. In fact, let me let you do it so that it makes sense to you. Go ahead and type in there what you just wrote right here for the know, understand, and do in the second half of the
you want me to do it after the meeting or you want me to do it now?
No,
I can do it after for time purposes.
Okay.
Because I just want to make sure I got all this stuff covered just in case I need to tweak my plans while I'm here this afternoon.
Gotcha.
If that's cool.